ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive. Brought to you by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Local then, local now. Member FDIC.
Welcome in to the Monday, March 16th edition. Happy Stone Cold Steve Austin Day. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. You can join the program by calling the Miller Lite phone lines, 877-420-TALK, 877-420-8255. Miller Lite Hold True, great taste, only 96 calories. It is the original light beer. So it is Stone Cold Steve Austin Day because it is March 16th. 316, if you don't get the reference. If you're a Stone Cold Steve Austin fan, you do, though. But he's going to be on Raw tonight. They're going to be in an empty arena, but it's going to be Raw tonight on the empty. I didn't see SmackDown, but they were in an empty arena for SmackDown. So I'm going to watch this tonight because it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. But we are here for you this hour. We'll take your phone calls, 877-420-TALK, 877-420-8255. And, of course, I've been answering the eternal question, what are you going to talk about? There's no sports. Oh, we got lots to talk about. We got plenty to talk about. And, of course, your phone calls. So we've got plenty of things we can get into. I will say this, though, keeping us up to date on the COVID-19 outbreak, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommended on Sunday that all gatherings of more than 50 people over the next 8 weeks be canceled or suspended. And they did specifically mention sporting events as something that should be avoided. And, of course, I think exception here is the UCF. They're still holding events. Other than that, everybody pretty much is, for the most part, adhering to this. Now, the NFL still plans to hold the 2020 draft as scheduled from April 23rd to 25th. But, and here's the big but here, public draft events in Las Vegas will not take place amid ongoing precautions being taken because of the coronavirus. So we're going to have the draft. It's going to be on television. You're going to get to see that. I'm sure that'll be interesting for a lot of people who are right now jonesing for sports. I mean, it's been a few days. And right now, if you're burning up now because you don't have sports, wait till we get here a few weeks. Baseball's pushing back. We don't know when the NBA is going to resume. I know we're in the early stages of this, and the NHL, of course, they'll probably follow suit with the NBA because they share some of the same arenas. So we're looking for several weeks here, maybe 8 weeks at least. That's what we're going to look like here in a few weeks, all zombies, because we haven't had our sports programming. But again, here I am. I'll be with you every day. And right now in West Virginia, the governor did speak earlier. And the governor, at least at this point, still cautious, but not doing what a few other states are doing. He's not recommending closing bars and restaurants yet. And he thinks that that's going to happen here eventually. I think he should have just went ahead and done it. Other states are doing it. If you're going to be consistent, try to be consistent. But again, I think there needs to be some nuance here. I understand a lot of restaurants are offering curbside service. They're offering, you can call ahead and they'll bring it to your car. That's smart. That's great. And let me tell you also, there are some amazing businesses and amazing people right now taking care of a lot of school kids who are home. Because let's be honest, in the area we're in, there are a lot of kids that maybe depend on the school system for lunch. And I've been impressed with a lot of people. I can't name them all, so I'm not going to even try. But I have been super impressed with the way businesses have stepped up. Just keep checking Facebook. A lot of people are sharing that information. And, of course, we're going to be updating that stuff as well on our Facebook pages. You can join our Facebook page, ESPN Radio 94.1 FM and AM 930. Look for that on Facebook. We update that all the time when we've got something new. So we're passing that information along to you as well. So that's where we're at right now in this sports world. I can say this, though. I've noticed that with sports programming being on hiatus, the vaults are starting to crack open. The vaults are opening up. We're going to start seeing games we haven't seen in a long time or exist only in YouTube form. We're going to see all of that. And on the radio side, I can tell you this. If you're a UK fan, I don't have the complete schedule yet. But you know, the UK Wildcats were going to the tournament. And so we're going to have On Cat Sports 93.3 and 1340, that's our sister station for those of you listening on the podcast, we're going to have classic UK games. That's cool. We're going to have, in place of where the Cats would have been in the tournament, we're going to have classic UK games in the championship or in the NCAA tournament. We're going to have all of that. So that's coming up. As soon as we get a schedule, we'll post that on our Facebook page as well, as that's something that I listen to. Maybe I haven't heard some of those games. And something that we're kind of toying around with as well. It's been offered to us, and we might get into it. We might do it. And I only tell you this because I'm trying to get a feel for if that's something you would like to listen to. We might have opportunity to carry some classic NCAA championship games. The first one being the Bird versus Magic game for the championship in 1978. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that, but that's where we're at right now as far as sports programming is concerned. A lot of classic games, both radio, television. They're being dug out of the vaults. I know ESPN's been running some things right now because as it stands, nothing going on. We got nothing. Maybe a little fighting here or there. That's it. UCF is scrambling to continue to put their events on. Of course, wrestling is going to be something that continues on. As I mentioned, just joking, it's Austin 316 Day, which is cool for me. I'm a big fan of Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm actually going to tune in and watch that tonight. And I can't wait to see what they do there. ESPN even got in the act. And I've got the list. We'll talk about it here in a little bit of some of his greatest moments. If you're a big fan of Stone Cold Steve Austin, this will be fun for you. If you're not, shame on you. And, of course, I'm here for you as well. So we'll open the phone lines up, 877-420-TALK, 877-420-8255. That's the number to be a part of the program. We'll open the phone lines up for you, give you an opportunity. I'm kind of curious, what are you doing now that you don't have March Madness to look forward to? You don't have spring training. You don't have workouts, Marshall, practice. That's been postponed indefinitely. You've got a lot of things being pushed back now. What are you doing? How have you adjusted? We're here for you. Don't forget that. Always here for you. And again, the number 877-420-TALK, 877-420-8255. Are you digging up your old VHS cassette collection? You digging up the YouTube vids? Are you watching great moments in Herd Athletics? Are you doing that? Or specifically, if you were to give me a playlist, I want a playlist. I want a playlist either on YouTube, however I can get it. I want to know what classic games and why in Herd history. I want classic games. I want games, and I don't mean just, hey, a couple of years ago. I'm talking, give me some good stuff. Give me some Randy Moss. Go back further than that. Give me Michael Payton. Go back further than that. Can you dig something up for me? Basketball, football. Can you give me something that's going to be fun to go back and watch? I'm looking for something to fill that void. Give me a playlist, and we'll put it together. That might be something cool. That's your homework assignment, but you got to start working on it now. Give me a playlist of Herd games that maybe we should go back and revisit. I'm thinking the JMAC Bowl, easy for me to say. I think that would be a classic one to watch for sure. Of course, I will accept the Marshall win over Wichita State. That's got to be on the playlist. I'm taking the easy ones for you. Spencer Dupuis, what game do you have that you would add to my magical playlist?
Well, I guess not add because you just say it. But 2 years ago today, that March Madness win in the first round over Wichita State, there's so many moments that stick out. John Elmore from the hash, Carter Blackburn's call. Then he had another call, and Pinova crossing over the defender and goes up for the easy layup. And then why take a 2 when you give it to John Elmore for a 3? Those are my top 3 calls from that game.
Okay, so we're putting that in the magical playlist. Spencer is going to keep a list of it as well. And I might actually put him in charge of putting together the YouTube playlist, and we'll post that somewhere. That's your homework. That's your homework assignment. We've got more on the way. We'll take your phone calls, 877-420-TALK, 877-420-8255. We'll talk a little NFL with you as well here on this Monday edition, March 16th. Happy Stone Cold Steve Austin Day on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
This is The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. Presented by Huntington Federal Savings Bank. Guests with Paul Swann appear via the Miller Lite phone lines.
420-TALK, 877-420-8255. I'm looking for classic games. I'm trying to put that magical playlist together. This might have to be a YouTube thing. I don't know. We might have to come up with our magical YouTube. We're not actually going to call it magical playlist, but herd play. We'll come up with something. We'll come up with some catchy name. Let's go to the phones. Jeremy is up first. He's on the drive. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Hey, Paul. I was just wondering, you brought up the YouTube clips there, and I tell you, we got the best play-by-play man calling the herd games in the business. So I was wondering if it could be any possibility of maybe hearing some classic Marshall games on the radio, such as maybe the run-up in the Conference USA tournament, the year that we won it, and the Buffalo danced, and then hearing the Wichita State game from Steve, or like the last year winning the CIT, those runs of games.
That would be more of a Learfield IMG question if they want to provide that, if there'd be enough demand for it. They would be the ones that would have to okay that and make that happen. As far as the NCAA game, that would actually have to get clearance from the NCAA. And I know the only reason I can get away with it for UK is because the UK network is actually providing those on my other station. And so they had to go get the clearance. If the Marshall network was looking to do something like that, it'd have to originate from them. But you know what? I wouldn't care to have, like, on a Friday night, let's hear that Wichita State game again. That would be fun. That would be really cool to have, or a classic herd game from the day, because I know Steve's got the archives as well, and I know Learfield's got a lot of that probably archived. So it's possible, but it would have to come from them.
Definitely. I'd love to hear it. I know, they got to go through the right people and everything. But one more thing, just wanted to say Happy Stone Cold Day, and I think we should really be appreciative of, I know they're doing it for money too, but the WWE still being around for us wrestling fans. All they go through to try to make people happy. And they were the first people that did a show after 9/11, the only people that are still operating today. So just got to enjoy the entertainment that we get tonight, and I thank you, Paul, for all that you do.
I appreciate it. What about AEW? Are they still doing live shows? I haven't heard yet.
AEW is running from a closed location. They just put it out. Basically the same thing WWE's doing.
Okay.
So on Wednesday night, AEW and NXT will both be doing shows. NXT's from the Performance Center, same as Raw tonight. And then AEW is in a close location in Jacksonville.
That'd be cool, yeah. I can't wait to see what they offer. I've actually been watching them a lot more. Don't know why, but I'm a huge fan of Orange Cassidy. That is my guy at AEW.
Everybody is. I mean, the one thing I'm so upset about is a lot of the independent promotions around WrestleMania got their shows canceled because WrestleMania is probably going to be postponed. But I tell you, Orange Cassidy and Minoru Suzuki was going to be an amazing match. He's this crazy Japanese guy, if you've never seen Minoru Suzuki. But I was just, it'd been amazing to see what that match would have been like. But, yeah, he's such a crazy personality. So
I love it.
See why you like him.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, just the fact that he has the crowd eating out of his hands and his hands are in his pocket the entire time.
Yep, exactly. I mean, that he has it, and he's a huge star. So yeah, he's really connecting. So yeah, I tell you, AEW is great. I went to the show up in Charleston whenever they were here, and it was just such a good time. So looking forward to maybe if life ever gets normal again, maybe they'll come back, put on a pay-per-view or something.
That'd be awesome. I need to get them in Huntington. Make that happen. Let's make that happen.
That would be great, Paul. Yeah, put you on it.
I'm doing it. You know what? I'll start bugging them until they either ignore me or respond. We'll make it happen either way.
There you go, Paul. Thank you so much for all you do, man.
I appreciate it. Thanks, sir. That's Jeremy checking in. You can do so as well. 877-420-TALK. 877-420-8255. I love some AEW. That's my show right now. You don't even know what I'm talking about. Spencer Dupuis, my intern of I have nothing. No way to describe you.
No way to describe? I mean, I'm getting the extended thing here.
I'll come up with something, man.
With no classes, meeting, and everything, I get to do Monday through Friday.
I love it. No, I appreciate you being here. I really do. But you don't know what AEW is about, so you can't add value to this show right now.
I'm just not a big wrestling guy.
What's wrong with you?
I don't know. I just never liked it as a kid.
I don't have anything for you. Just stay quiet for the rest of the show. Well, watch Raw tonight. Watch Raw. Stone Cold's going to be there. I can't wait to see what he does. Better yet, either go to YouTube or spend a few dollars, get the WWE app, get a subscription for a month, watch all the classic programming. I mean, come on. Hulk Hogan back in the day, Macho Man Randy Savage, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Bret Hart. Nothing registers for you? Ric Flair?
Okay. Randy Savage. Hulk Hogan, obviously, because he's just popular culture.
He's just popular culture.
I mean, he's relevant in popular culture. He's made cameos in movies and stuff like that.
There used to be a time, sir, when the biggest conversation around was who would win between Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair. And okay. All right, just watch Raw tonight. Stone Cold's going to be on. We're going to actually go some of those highlights, not on air, but we're going to actually talk about some of the moments. The clearance department would be crazy if I tried to play some of those clips on this show. But Stone Cold Day, that's why they're having him back, I'm sure. I'm looking forward to that. He's actually got a pretty good podcast. Check that out. Spencer, check his podcast out. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I'll be sure to put that on my podcast list
You
now.
should do that. You should put this show on your podcast list as well. All you have to do is go to Apple Podcast, Spotify, tune in, wherever you get your podcast. You can get this show. Put this show on your podcast list, because I envision a day where we might just be doing this as a podcast. I don't know yet. I don't know if we're going to be doing this show as a remote location show from my house, because ESPN, for the most part, their radio talents, they're all doing their shows from their homes and their apartments right now. It's got to that point. Now, of course, we're talking major markets here. The coronavirus hasn't impacted our everyday life as much yet. It's coming, though. But I can envision when this is just a show. I will do this show. By the way, if I have to be taken off the air for whatever reason, I will do this show as a podcast from my house.
That's nice. I'll call you and we'll do this podcast together.
No.
Wow.
No, I don't have the setup for it. I'm sorry.
I mean, I can get the setup for it.
Yeah, but then I'd have to be in a room with you. I'd be quarantining myself.
I mean, no. I mean, we could Skype and then do this. It can work. It can work.
All right. Okay. I mean, all right. I don't want to crush your enthusiasm. Cincinnati Bengals. Let's talk about something that I like. The Cincinnati Bengals. They have dropped the franchise player tag on A.J. Green. So, what does that mean? If you are a fan of the Bengals, this is what it means. It means that under the terms of the NFL collective bargaining agreement, he's the franchise player, and the franchise designation gives Green the option to either sign with the Bengals for 2020 for a salary specified by a formula within the CBA. He's going to get paid. He does have the right to negotiate with other teams, but the franchise player designation means that if he agrees to terms with another team, the Bengals could, A, retain him by matching the offer. So if another team says, look, we're going to give you this, and he's like, okay, I'll take that price. Bengals can say, all right, we'll match that price. If the Bengals decline to match a competing offer, then the team that signs Green would be required to give the Bengals two, not one, two first-round draft choices. So either way, the Bengals win because, one, you're trying to protect the best wide receiver in the game, or at least one of the best right now. You're trying to protect him. Two, if you can't retain him and protect him, you're getting two first-round draft picks. Now, I know this is the Bengals we're talking about. They're not very good with those draft picks. They have been scattered all over the place. But let's hope that they can retain Mr. Green. If they can retain him, that means Joe Burrow is going to have a nice little target to throw to. He's going to be the first-round pick. First pick, it's happening. I've even seen some signs that people are talking about Tua. He's getting healthier. No, the Bengals are not messing this up. Joe Burrow is your first-round draft pick. That's not going to happen. If he's not your first-round draft pick, I'm looking for a new team. That's all I'm going to say. So, if he's not the first-round pick, I'm looking for a new team. I don't know. Maybe I'm root for Cleveland. No. Let's not go crazy here. I would probably pick a team that's not in the state of Ohio for one. 2, I'm not taking your Washington Redskins, so you can get away from the microphone right now, Spencer. That's not happening. Not doing it. Nobody in the AFC North. Not your Washington Redskins. Not the Patriots. Definitely not the 49ers. Not picking them. I'll find a team. I don't know. Not the Rams not the Chargers with that horrible new logo. Maybe the Rams. I don't know. I got to come up with a team. I'm not going to be a front runner. I like KC, but I'm not going to be a front runner. I'm not going to do that. I got to find a team that has a chance, but
bandwagon.
What?
You won't be a bandwagon.
Yeah, you're right. I won't be a bandwagon. What I tell you about? I got to point at you. What I tell you about that? You don't know when you can jump in. You just see my hand waving in the air. You're thinking it's like a baton I'm conducting here. You can't. I'll point at you with my finger. All right, let's hit the break. We will come back. It is Stone Cold 316. It is Stone Cold Steve Austin Day. We're going to get into that when we continue with today's edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Never miss a moment of The Drive with Paul Swann. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We're taking your phone calls, 877-420-TALK, 877-420-8255. We're still trying to put that playlist together of what herd games would you like to see if you're going to watch. If you're going to be self-quarantined, you're going to be isolated from people for a while, and you got to have sports. What's that playlist of games you want to sit back and relive over and over again? Of course, I think we've already established Marshall's win over Wichita State in the NCAA tournament. That's going to be one. I mean, somebody might want to watch the CIT championship again. That could be one. You might want to you might want to watch the GMAC Bowl. That could be one. So we've got so many options to choose from. I'm trying to have you put that playlist together, and you can do so at 877-420-TALK, 877-420-8255. Now, I've been telling you today is Stone Cold Steve Austin Day. It's 316, Austin 316. You know what it means. If you don't, you better go look it up. And I'm going to help you. If you're new to the wrestling scene or you just don't remember all of Steve Austin's amazing accomplishments, with the help of ESPN.com, we've got a pretty good list, actually. Now, everybody who is a Stone Cold Steve Austin fan knows his backstory. Of course, he came from WCW. He was a tag team champion with Brian Pillman. They had a great team, Hollywood Blondes. I mean, he's had some different characters. And then he gets to the WWE, and I think they poorly use him as, I think he was the ringmaster. He was under the Ted DiBiase, if I remember correctly. It was Ted DiBiase. He was the manager of Steve Austin and that gimmick, and finally that gimmick just got thrown away because it was the King of the Ring, 1996, and Steve Austin gets the win over Jake the Snake Roberts in the tournament final. And then Steve Austin, he does what we would come to love him for. He starts mocking his opponent, but he mocks it in a way that really caught everybody by surprise, I think. Because Jake the Snake Roberts had this gimmick. He was doing this preacher gimmick. And here's what Steve Austin did. Austin basically created 316. You talk about your John 316. Well, Austin 316 says, here's the exact quote. Talk about your Psalms. You talk about your John 316. Well, Austin 316 says, I just whipped your... Yeah, we can't say we can't say it. We can't say it, Spencer. We can't say the word. We can't say the word. And then, here it is. He's born. Austin 316. The shirts come out. Austin 316. Everybody knows what it means. Austin 316 was born. And then, back in 1997, the fight, the feud, the war, it was born. Steve Austin had a finishing move here called the Stunner. I feel like I'm speaking to intern Spencer here because he has no idea what... I feel like I'm speaking to a child. Okay, I'm going to speak in very plain terms here for you, Spencer. Our intern producer. Steve Austin had a finisher called the Stunner. And it's one of the greatest finishing moves of all time. It's right up there with the figure four. So, Steve's back. This wasn't a kayfabe. This was real. He had a neck injury, and he isn't cleared to compete. So he's stripped of both the Intercontinental, easy for me to say, the Intercontinental and the WWF Tag Team Championship. So he's stripped of all his belts. And so where do all the contract negotiations and the board meetings happen? Well, in the ring, of course. So he storms into the ring. He's confronted by the New York City cops. And Vince McMahon, he was a commentator. Very good one, by the way. Very good commentator. So he gets up to confront Austin. And then Steve Austin just drops Vince McMahon in the ring. Steve Austin hauled away in handcuffs. And then probably what helped save wrestling in that time frame and era began, because it was the greatest feud of the 90s and then some. To the point where in 1998, Vince McMahon is going to get a special referee because Steve Austin is going to wrestle the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, for the title. And Austin, he comes out the victor of the Royal Rumble the night before. Vince McMahon comes out, says, hey, guess what? Mike Tyson is going to be the special guest referee enforcer at WrestleMania 14. So what does Steve Austin do? He comes out to confront him. And he basically says, look, I respect you as a boxer, but you don't want to mess with me. This is my ring. You don't want to do that. And he basically said, I want a piece of Mike Tyson. He even dropped the bird a few times. And then, of course, Tyson pushed Steve Austin. There's a fight. And this builds up to Steve Austin winning the first WWE, which was then the WWF Championship. So WrestleMania, we're building up to WrestleMania. 2 months later, the match is going on. And what happens here is Mike Tyson, he flips. He's not working for Vince McMahon. He flips. Austin dodges Michael's sweet chin music. That's a super kick if you're not familiar with it. Austin throws his stunner. It's blocked. And then he catches Shawn Michaels' leg on the second attempt for sweet chin music. And then Austin gets the stunner, drops 1, 2, 3. Tyson makes the count. Steve Austin's, for the first time ever, the champ of the WWE. And then Mike Tyson, who had been a big supporter of Shawn Michaels and D-Generation X, he's been going around for weeks supporting those guys, punches Shawn Michaels, just knocks him out, just decks him, rips off his shirt, and it says Austin 316 underneath. And then, of course, who could forget September 28th, 1998, Steve Austin drives a Zamboni, a hockey Zamboni. Oh, that got your attention in there in the booth. He drove a Zamboni into the arena. It was Monday Night Raw. And Vince McMahon and his clique, whatever you want to call them, his crew, they were about ready to present the WWE Championship belt to either The Undertaker or Kane, because both of them had simultaneously pinned Austin the night before at the WWE pay-per-view. And so what does Steve Austin do? He just rolls right in, crashes in. He drives the Zamboni into the ring. He starts attacking Vince McMahon. And again, handcuffs. Got to haul him out of there. And this escalates to a point where the following week, you don't have a champion. Kane, The Undertaker, not the champ. And what happens was The Undertaker and Kane decide to take it out on Vince McMahon. It's a popular theme here, taking it out on Vince McMahon. So they break his leg. They just take it out on him. And he's laid up in the hospital. Vince McMahon, he has some special guests show up to sort of help him out. Mankind shows up. That's Mick Foley. And Austin shows up. Steve Austin shows up as a doctor. And one of the best things I've ever seen, the bedpan became a weapon. And Steve Austin just started to beat Vince McMahon in the hospital. Just beat him up. He's broken leg. Just beats him up. And this got to the point where it escalated. Vince, you always know the setup here. Like, for example, Vince had a brand new white Corvette. He shows up. You know when someone shows up in a really nice vehicle at a wrestling event, something's happened to the vehicle. Something's happening. It's a gimmick. Steve Austin pours basically, if I remember this correctly, he comes in a cement truck. Yeah, I remember this now. And he just pours a cement truck inside the car. Just $50,000 car, cement, all in the car. It's comical. But probably the funniest, I think, that I've ever seen a Steve Austin attack on Vince McMahon came in 1999. It was March 22nd. Vince McMahon is with The Rock, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, champion of the WWF. And they're discussing the next match. It's going to be with Mick Foley. And then all of a sudden, Steve Austin drives a Coors Light truck, again, down the ramp, climbs on top. He starts talking to the crowd, taunts Vince McMahon and The Rock, the McMahon family. Then he climbs down, turns on a beer hose, and he soaks everybody in beer. Just soaks them all. These are some of the things you should watch on YouTube if you are reminiscing about Steve Austin. It was, I think, the best era of wrestling in years, just because of the dynamic between Steve Austin, who got to pick his persona, finally got to be sort of in control of his persona as a performer. Because really, this is entertainment. Let's be honest here. The way these guys present themselves, some hit with people, some don't, it's because it's the personality that's driving it. And Vince McMahon was, I think, a really good partner with Steve Austin as far as those years of the WWE. So Steve Austin, he'll be on Raw tonight. It is Stone Cold Steve Austin Day, Austin 316, March 16th, 316. That's the gimmick. Got to check some of that stuff out on YouTube. The beer truck especially. The Zamboni's good too. The Bad Pan, that was always good. I love that. Steve Austin, definitely a classic. And, of course, there was that one time where he stunned Vince McMahon and his entire family in the ring. I don't know if that was actually scripted or that was surprise. It seemed like it was surprise, but the McMahon family went along with it because the show must go on. All right, we'll come back. We'll come back and we'll get your phone calls in, and we will wrap this up here on today's edition. It's kind of been a thrown-together show because, well, we don't have sports, my friends. We don't have sports, so we will endeavor on here on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.
Welcome back to the Monday edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930. I'm Paul Swann. Of course, you can be a part of the program. 877-420-TALK, 877-420-8255. We're going to be, of course, what we always are, mix of serious, mix of fun. Hopefully an outlet for you, at least for an hour, as, of course, I'm sure a lot of you are hunkering down right now. Some of you are either dealing with the situation at hand, preparing to deal with the situation wherever you're listening to the program, either you're local or you're listening to us far away, either by our stream or on the podcast. However you're listening to the show, of course, we're with you here. And, of course, we look forward to being here with you for several weeks. And, again, as I told you, if there comes a day where we've got to kind of shelter in place, I don't know if that's going to happen necessarily. Depends on, hopefully, our good health and, of course, the health of the region. But if there comes that time where we may have to shelter down, I'm not going anywhere.